Welcome back. My name's Todd. I'm your host for The Laundry List. It is a nice, cold, dark, gloomy evening here in Scottsdale at Pod Populi. We're here in Old Town Scottsdale. I just got off the pickleball court. I had my double-double or my standard at my favorite little burger joint, and I'm full. I'm happy. I'm ready for a nap, and I got a very special guest on today. Before we get too deep in the, I know I brought my glasses here, but okay, I can read this. I'm going to give you the laundry list, which are the 14 traits of an adult child. And we are trying to deal with this stuff so we could become our true selves and find our true identities. So 1, we became isolated and afraid of people and authority figures. 2, we became approval seekers and lost our identity in the process. 3, we are frightened by angry people and any personal criticism. 4, we either become alcoholics, marry them, or both, or find another compulsive personality, such as a workaholic, to fulfill our sick abandonment needs. 5, we live from the viewpoint of victims and are attracted by that weakness in our love and friendship relationships. 6, we have an overdeveloped sense of responsibility, and it's easier for us to be concerned with others rather than ourselves. This enables us not to look too closely at our own faults, etc. 7, we get guilt feelings when we stand up for ourselves instead of giving in to others. 8, we became addicted to excitement. 9, we confuse love and pity and tend to love people we can pity and rescue. 10, we have stuffed our feelings from our traumatic childhoods and have lost the ability to feel or express our feelings because it hurts so much. Denial. 11, we judge ourselves harshly and have a very low sense of self-esteem. 12, we are dependent personalities who are terrified of abandonment and will do anything to hold on to a relationship in order not to experience painful abandonment feelings, which we received from living with sick people who were never there emotionally for us. 13, alcoholism is a family disease, and we became para-alcoholics and took on the characteristics of that disease, even though we did not pick up the drink. And 14, para-alcoholics are reactors rather than actors. And that's Tony A., 1978. All right, and let's look at the promises of ACA, which is what we get once we do the work. So the solution. Okay. The solution is to become your own loving parent. As ACA becomes a safe place for you, you will find freedom to express all the hurts and fears that you have kept inside and are free yourself from the shame and blame that you are carrying from the past. You will become an adult who is imprisoned no longer by childhood reactions. You will recover the playful child within you, learning to love and accept yourself. The healing begins when we risk moving out of isolation. Feelings and buried memories will return by gradually releasing the burden of unexpressed grief. We slowly move out of the past and we learn to reparent ourselves with gentleness, humor, and love. The process allows us to see our biological parents as the instruments of our existence. Our actual parent is a higher power who some of us choose to call God. Although we had alcoholic or dysfunctional parents, our higher power, or God, gave us the 12 steps of recovery. This is the action and the work that heals us. We use the steps, we use the meetings, we use the telephone. We share our experience, strength, and hope with each other, and we may restructure our sick thinking one day at a time. When we learn to release our parents' firm responsibility, our actions today become free to make healthful decisions as actors, not reactors. We progress from hurting to healing to helping. We awaken to a sense of wholeness we never knew was possible. By attending these meetings on a regular basis, you will come to see your parental alcoholism or family dysfunction for what it is, a disease that infected you as a child and continues to affect you as an adult. You will learn to keep the focus on yourself in the here and now. You will take responsibility for your own life and supply your own parenting. You will not do this alone. Look around you. You can see how others have helped and others know how you feel. We love and accept you no matter what. We ask you to accept us just as we accept you. This is a spiritual program based on action coming from love. We are sure that as some of the love grows inside of you, you will see beautiful changes in all of your relationships, especially with your higher power, yourself, and your parents. Well, guys, that was the problem and the solution. And we have a very special guest today, a good friend of mine. Bob, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the laundry list. And how long have we known each other?
Hi, Todd.
Hi.
Good to see you this afternoon.
Good to see you.
Let's see. We've known each other since it would have been probably 2013, so 10 years.
2013.
Yeah.
Time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah. I branched out from my home group after being sober about 2.5 years, and I needed to find a men's stag meeting. And Jerry and Charlie directed me to that men's attitude.
The 645?
645. Back then, it was just Wednesday and Fridays, I believe.
Right. And it was packed.
Right. Well, we used to get 60, 70 guys on a Wednesday morning.
Right.
All the guys from Ahwatukee.
Yeah. Wednesday was really packed.
Yeah.
And then you started, I know you went to the Tuesday night men's stag.
Well, we developed that meeting into 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And we incorporated it 12 and 12 and big book study on Tuesday, Thursday.
Yep.
And had it 5 days a week. And then we migrated up to a nooner, Tuesday and Thursday, and then a 5:30 Monday, yep. Wednesday, and Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. So that wasn't your first time getting sober, was it?
No, or attempting to get sober, let's say.
Yeah. So let's rewind a little bit. Give us just a little brief history on kind of where you grew up. How did that look? How did your adopted parents, how did that all play in? And then when you discovered alcohol and drugs, like I always say, was that the solution and the warm blanket for a while? Or did you come out like not feeling like that was the solution for a while?
Yeah, I'm from Southern California, the San Fernando Valley, Lakeview Terrace exactly is where I grew up. My parents, I'm one of 3 natural children. My parents also adopted an older sister, Tina. She came to us later, right as my parents got divorced. I was born in 1961. My parents got divorced in 1969. That was traumatic for me.
So how old were you? 8 years old?
About 8 years old at the time, yeah. My dad never lived far. He was always within a mile and a half. I don't think, he said he was always within a mile and a half. He was always there. He did remarry in 1974, but there was a separation at that point. But I saw him every weekend. I went to see him every weekend. We had a boat in Dana Point.
So you were close with your dad?
Very close with my dad. My dad was from he was from Germany, so he migrated here in 1951. And my parents. I don't know exactly what had happened or what occurred. As far as my sisters and I are concerned, we never saw anything unusual. Not a lot of fighting, anything. My mother did have some emotional issues, and I think that it really wasn't him. I don't think it was a relationship. She was just not comfortable being in a marriage situation. So
they got divorced.
They get divorced. Tooling down the road, I was also diagnosed ADHD when I was fairly young in the first grade. I was kicked out of 2 elementary schools in LA City School District, and then eventually asked not to return to the LA City School District. So in the second grade, I went to a private school, and I repeated the second grade. That's also when I started Ritalin. So I don't know what was the magic. Was it the Ritalin? Was it the parochial school? Was it Sister Regina, who was my second grade teacher at Villa Cabrini? Adored that woman. In fact, my sister and I found her a couple of years ago out in Burbank. She was in a nunnery. We jokingly call it a nunnery retirement home, but I don't know if she's still alive, but to see her. Anyways, my first drink, I was 13 years old, and let me tell you, I could have used it much sooner. And
when you say you could have used it much sooner, so you had fear, you had worry, panic as a young boy.
I was irritable and discontented my entire life.
People are going to find out that you can't read, you're not smart, you're like all this stuff that normal boys.
Yeah, I couldn't really read very well. I was dyslexic, and but they gave me Ritalin, and that helped tremendously for me.
From an academic standpoint?
Yeah, from a school standpoint.
How about emotionally?
I don't know about what it did emotionally. I mean,
maybe like numbed you out and got you.
It gave me hyper concentration and got me through school. And I took Ritalin all the way through my senior year in high school. So I stopped taking it. My mother.
And when you stopped taking it after your senior in high school, did you notice an effect when you stopped it?
I noticed that there was an effect on me. My mother also died. Actually, the day that I graduated from
high school.
From high school.
How did she pass away?
She had cancer, and she was diagnosed when I was in the 10th grade. So she lived 2.5 years, and my sisters and I took care of her.
And your dad, were they close after they got divorced?
Yeah, they were fairly close. I mean, my parents never had a negative word to say about the other ever in our presence. There was never any, he was an asshole or she's a bitch, or anything. There was.
They just got divorced, didn't work out. They had respect for each other, love for each other.
Yeah, my father adored my mother. I mean, it was.
So it must have been hard on him to move on and.
Oh yeah, I mean, and even in his relationship with his second wife, I mean, he would sit there and adore my mother in front of her, and he would sob, and cry, and all that kind of, especially when she passed away.
Yeah, that must have been tough. I mean, it's always tough to lose a loved one, but. What are you close to your dad today, or is he still alive?
No. He passed away in '99. He was 70. So he also contracted cancer, and it was short-lived. He had lung cancer, and he died within, I think, 6-7 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually in Florida. My wife and I were in Florida. So,
and were you able to sort of say everything you wanted to say to him in that last 6 months?
He and I had a really good relationship. Early on, during that period of time when I was trying to figure out whether or not I was an alcoholic, I was ticking off DUIs and all that kind of shit. When I turned 18, I had my first DUI anyways. He and I fought a lot. He was drinking a lot during that time. I do believe he was an alcoholic. He later on in life in the 90s, when I had my longest stint of sobriety, pre to this stint of 13 plus years, he would go to meetings with me. And he enjoyed that. In respect that he felt a part of that. He would tell me early on that he goes, I believe I'm an alcoholic too. Ironically, he just quit drinking at about 63. He began to drink heavily when I was about 14 years old. And I don't know why, but my father was in the German Navy in World War II. And he was just a kid. He was captured when he was 15. But there was an incident in his neighborhood where some of the kids in the street painted swastikas on his house. That just put him over, and he can see now he was dealing with that, or trying.
Yeah, a lot of emotion there.
Yeah, he was trying to deal with his childhood because he was from Leipzig, East Germany. It's difficult to be born and raised in a war-torn country.
Yeah,
we're very fortunate that we've never seen it.
Yeah, he didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I think he dealt with it a lot through the alcoholism.
Right. Yeah, it helped. It helped the pain, the shame,
sure.
the guilt.
Right.
So talk about your pain, shame, and guilt, because they say alcohol, is not the problem. It's just the symptom of the problem.
Oh yeah.
So what do you think your issues were, and why you drank so much and drugged so much? What were the issues behind that really caused you to drink and drug?
Well, my first drunk, or the first time I was able to drink as much as I was able to say, or as, I had stolen. I was 13 years old. Myself and a handful of the other kids in the neighborhood, we stole whatever booze we can get from our parents' house, and we met over at Kurt Scholey's, which was right across the street from mine. My mother was out. She was at a play. She went to see Peter Pan, in fact. But so I went over there. I had a 6-pack of Coors 16-ounce cans. And I popped open a can of that. There was myself. There was Kurt. There was Kurt, Mark, Scholey, handful of the other guys. There's probably 6 or 7 of us. I don't know if my older sister. I don't believe my sister Barbara was there. Anyways, and I get through at least the first can, and Mary Beth Kinney was sitting across from me, and she was 15. She was blonde and she had blue eyes. She had a halter top on it. Summertime. I knew right then she liked me, and she really liked me.
Yeah.
And I remember that feeling that I had, and I remember going, whatever the fuck I'm feeling, I want to feel like this all the time. And everything that
were you drunk at the time?
I believe that whatever that was euphoric feeling and of togetherness. I felt a part of the group. I felt all those things.
So you're like, this is the miracle drug, miracle drink. It's like, I feel phenomenal.
I don't know if I felt that this was the booze. I think I just felt fucking great. I had a younger sister at home, Joanne, so she would have been 11. And a friend of the family's, Vernon Anthony Northern III, who was a black guy who lived right next door to us in our old neighborhood. And he was over for the night, and he was about 6'7". And at some point in this evening of drunkenness, we end up outside, skipping down the street, myself and Mark Scholey and Harry, and we're just acting a fool. Somehow he caught word of this, went outside and gathered me up and got me home, put me to bed. But that immediately sent me into the spins.
And how old you said you were? 15? 13
years old. Yeah. So I puked all over the house, on my way to the restroom. My mother came home, and she was livid, of course, and she was thoroughly convinced that they had given me some exotic drugs or something. And so she wanted to rush me she was a nurse. She was going to rush me to the emergency room and have my stomach pumped. I said, no, Mom, it was just the beer, But I hated getting sick. And so one thing I knew is I did not
But you loved the feeling that occurred when you were... Before you got sick.
So that sent me on a quest. I probably didn't drink for probably two more years until I got into high school. So because of just that feeling that I throwing up and all that kind of stuff, there was quite a bit of pot going on in my neighborhood, and I would do that on an occasional basis, but I never liked smoking pot. It made me very paranoid. I never liked the pot high.
So fast forward, now you're an adult. When did the alcohol and drugs really become a problem as an adult?
Young high school kid, probably in my junior year. My best friend, who's a brother of mine today, Jim Miller, the family that took me in after my mother passed away. I was actually with Jim. Jim was actually with me.
How old were you when your mother passed away?
I was 18 years old, and we were in high school. And this was he and I went to see my mother in hospice care. And the night before she died, I was staying at the Miller's house. There was 7 siblings there, and I was staying there for the previous 2 weeks before this happened. And my mother died that night. But Jim and I we went to see my mother, not knowing that she was at the end. 4:00 in the morning. Anyways, that's how I ended up staying there. I don't know. Anyways, they owned 2 liquor stores. So it was our freshman year. I was, because I repeated the second grade, I had my driver's license when we were sophomores in high school. So I also played football. So in the summertime for double days and stuff, I had my driver's license our sophomore year. I was the first kid in our class to drive. So of course Jim was drinking and some of the other guys had already been drinking, but I didn't want to drink because it's like, nah, this shit made me sick. But he goes, oh, we got a whole liquor store. We could figure out what you like to drink. So early on, it was Tickled Pink, and or it would have been Bacardi 151 that I would do half pint in a big iced tea tumbler glass. They didn't call them that back then. With Coke, and that would get me there. And so if we were kind of off and running, I mean, it was by my junior year in high school, Jim and I found this ice chest that fit perfectly out of Dotson's 1972 Datsun 510. And it was square. And the back trunk was square, and it fit this ice chest that we can perfectly pack 5 cases of beer on ice in the trunk of my car. And then we had that at all times for about a year and a half. So it was perfect. At that time, I began to be able to start drinking beer more and more. I've never really acquired a taste for alcohol at all. I've disliked it. I've never.
So when did you get into the heavy drugs?
A cold beer and a warm afternoon. That was never anything that was invited. Cocaine didn't come into play until my 21st birthday. The first time I did any cocaine.
And so fast forward, you're in your 20s now, and you're doing the drugs. You're drinking.
By the age of 21, I probably had 4 DUIs already.
4 DUIs?
4 DUIs.
And were you holding a job?
I was still trying to go to school. So I had been kicked out of I've been asked to leave every junior college in the LA County junior college. There's Pierce, Valley, Pasadena, Glendale. Yeah, I've been asked to leave after the second quarter during scholastic probation. See, I cold turkeyed off Ritalin.
So you weren't able to function academically.
I was not able to function academically at all, and I never put 2 to 2 together. Most people didn't put 2 to 2 together. I lied to everybody. I popped off my first DUI 2 weeks after I graduated from high school.
So that makes sense why the drinking and drugging would escalate, because you're feeling bad about yourself. You're failing out of school. You keep getting bounced out of these schools, and you're like, "What's wrong with me?"
I'm mourning. I'm trying to mourn the loss of my mother to some, for sure.
Sometimes that's delayed.
So so the lies start, or the cover up. You know what I mean? I never told
because you want to look good.
Yeah. I didn't want to look like a failure. My father wanted me to go into the trades.
What trade was that?
He was a cabinet maker, so he wanted me to be a cabinet maker or a plumber.
Mm-hmm.
He says you got to get into the trades. I was like, well, my friends are in college.
And did he say that's not for you, son?
Well, he said you're a cabinet maker's son.
Yeah,
you should be a cabinet maker. You're good at this. I used to work with him in the summertime, so it was good money.
So what happened? So you got bounced at all?
So anyways,
junior colleges?
I got bounced around there. Long story short, I met this girl. I was coaching football back at I went to an old boys Catholic high school, St. Francis. So they asked me to come back and coach. I did that for a couple 2-3 years. I was driving a girlfriend out here to U of A, to Tucson, and I stopped here. I had an uncle and a cousin that lived here in Scottsdale, and they had dry cleaners. So
which ones?
David's Dry Cleaners on Chaparral and Hayden. He had PS down on.
My dad owned Swiss Cleaners when I was growing up.
I know.
I think we talked about
this.
Yeah.
Your dad knew my uncle.
Yeah.
So there was kind of a little. It still is, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Great business too, but my uncle was pretty much had his own issues and alcohol problems and everything, and it never transpired. Anyways, I ended up. They said, "Why don't you move out here?" And you really don't have anything going on, and jump in the dry cleaning business, which I did. I came out here for a couple of years, popped off. Still wasn't going anywhere. It was just, it's a regular alcoholic, mediocre job.
So you had a job, but you were able to drink and drug. At that time, the drugs were just what?
The drugs
just
are
cocaine?
but in it, I never really did a whole lot of cocaine.
When did it move to like?
Oh, it went to a lot of
crack
cocaine. Was doing a lot of cocaine when I moved to Florida because it was cheap availability. So I got into that back in the late 90s. But the methamphetamines didn't come in until 08, 2008.
What's your favorite drug? Was it meth?
Yeah.
Why?
By far. I could talk. Did
it take away your fears?
Methamphetamine is the exact molecular structure as Ritalin, except for one. So later on in this period of my sobriety, early on, I saw doctors and went to see a doctor, which I usually said, "You took that first hit of that meth and it was over your brain." Said, "Well," said, "You had no chance."
And how old were you?
It was 08. Let's see, what's that?
What are you? You're 82 right now, right?
46.
You're 81 or 82
46
right now?
60. I feel 82. So the meth was off and running.
I'm so glad and grateful I didn't try meth because I think I would have been welcome home.
It brings
I would have been welcome home.
It brings home all the rest of it too.
Yeah.
There's
and that's
girls thing, dope thing.
Yeah, just like
rooms.
time and life just sort of.
I could do it at work. Felt like yeah.
Felt
Nobody
like what?
could.
Felt like Superman.
I felt good. Yeah.
That's what I hear. If you feel like Superman.
I'd be on the phone. I'm in the AV. I sell aircraft parts, and I just felt like, this is it. I could do it at work. I was never a drinker at work. I never drank at work. I was never a morning drinker. I was a morning drinker if I was drinking at night, but yeah, cocaine would just lock me up. I mean, I like the fact that it kept me up because that's what I always want to do. All I want to do. What do I want to do?
Yeah,
I start feeling shitty.
But how about coming off that? I mean, for me, it was like depression, anxiety, sadness.
On the cocaine?
Suicidal thoughts. Like
Well, that's
just terrible coming down.
Methamphetamine that's on, times 100.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I would kick out, I'd kick out a windshield in our car. It's near the end. Near the end of 09, right before my last DUI, it was, yeah.
So your wife's trying to get a hold of you. Your kids are trying to get a hold of you. You're locked up in a hotel doing meth.
Yeah, I mean, my wife is sober today, and I've been married for 34 years this February, but
so she's done this rodeo with you.
Oh well, I mean, she was not an innocent bystander by any means of the situation, but our mutual addictions and codependencies kept us together.
Talk about that because the show talks a lot about codependency.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
when you say our codependencies kept us together, what does that look like?
I was not a home drinker, and doing methamphetamines is not conducive to family life, so that's why I would end up in hotels. But if I'm out drinking or drugging, she's doing whatever she wants.
Which was
drinking, drugging, pop. She was a pill popper.
But not together. She's off doing her thing.
She would kind
You're
of
doing your thing.
Yeah, she would be off doing her thing while I was away.
And did you ask her after the fact that you guys got sober? Like, did my disappearance and going to hotels doing meth like affect you to where you had to go do these drugs just to deal with the emotions that are coming up?
We've never had those types of conversations.
I'd be interested to.
We've never sat down and talked about our mutual feelings about.
She must have been scared. Like, oh shit, my husband is out doing meth and drugs, and I don't know where he's at, and she's probably feeling crazy emotions and fear. So then she goes and does her stuff, right?
Yeah. I don't know. We would have to.
But you've made amends to her.
Oh yeah,
she's made amends to you.
Yeah.
You guys, because you guys are in 12-step, program. And how does that feel? Making amends to her? Was it emotional?
The whole thing's emotional. Our life's emotional.
Yeah.
We have a good life. I mean, it's we have a very we're friends. You know, there's a tremendous amount of honesty. She's working her program. I'm watching her enjoy Debbie's life, not you know, getting her enjoyment out of me. You know what I mean? It's what she wants. She's got her own.
She's fallen in love with herself.
I believe so. Yeah,
and likes herself.
Correct. Yeah.
So, and by doing that, it sounds like she can enjoy her time with you now because she likes herself and loves herself.
Right.
If two people, I believe, don't like themselves or in fear, they have to have that other person to be okay.
Mm-hmm. No, I would agree.
You know, and it's like I shared this morning. I'm like, life will present circumstances to you to show you where you're not free. Like for me, it was when Julie asked for a divorce, 4 or 5 years ago. And it showed me where I wasn't free because I was unwilling to accept that and unwilling to feel the feelings to deal with that. I mean, I don't know if you remember that, but like I was coming unglued, surreal experience.
Yeah.
And now that I look back, it's like that was life presenting me with circumstances to show me where I wasn't free. And I've grown since then. I've become much more in love with who I am. And now I can truly say, I love Julie unconditionally. Before it was conditioned upon her staying with me and loving me and not divorcing me. It was conditioned. Now it's truly unconditional love. There's no financial tie. There's no legal tie. It's just, I love her unconditionally. And it's just such a nice place to be. But at the time, it's painful. It's like losing the job, losing the money, losing the wife. You get a call from the doctor. It's cancer. We can't control these things. We think we can, but we can't. It's like your mom and dad. You loved them dearly. They passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So feeling the feelings without the drugs and alcohol. Talk about that.
Oh yeah.
Now you're feeling feelings.
It's not. It's not the booze. I mean, that's the booze was the instant. It's like I said it the other morning. You were there. I attached myself to your saying the single greatest thing that ever happened to me was getting sober. 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I've now evolved that to be that's the second. The first was my 13 years old, my first drunk, first time I was able, and be able to have that instant feeling of feeling good. AA was an instant.
Yeah, it took a while. I
mean, all my struggles of in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous, over 33 years, it's, I could never get, I don't think I ever got a 6-month chip previous to when I got 25 months.
How many years
in the late
was that
90s.
going on?
Well, from 80 till 97,
Jeez.
17 years. I probably attempted going in and out of AA 30 times. But, that's the thing about AA. You stop drinking, what happens? Something happens. Right?
Well,
you get up, the alarm doesn't go off for work. You get a flat tire.
I always
lose the deal.
I was way more uncomfortable my first and second year in sobriety than I was my last couple of years drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Without question. Because I had nothing to deal with the pain and the anxiety and the fear of life. It's like, give me a drug or a drink to deal with this fucking life.
I had no living skills.
Yeah.
Zero ability to handle any situation that came to me besides fight or flight.
And it led you to God. I mean, which talk about that, I mean, what does your relationship with God look like?
Well, I think one of my biggest obstacles in Alcoholics Anonymous was, coming in and I believe this may have been one of the things that kept me away early on was, this is about, this is a spiritual program based upon a relationship with a higher power. Well, I was born and raised Catholic. Went to Catholic schools. I have 3 or 4 priests' phone numbers.
So what does that mean? Today. How did that affect you negatively?
I immediately felt like, I have a relationship with God.
Yeah, you already got this.
Yeah, I've got this.
Yeah.
So I don't need to work the program, right? Why would I need to work the program to find a relationship with God?
Because I know what that looks like.
Because
I was raised Catholic.
I was an altar boy. I wanted to be a priest, right? All good Catholic. And
Yeah.
I was president of the altar boys at Our Lady. Come on,
Yeah.
let's face it. So what I need to do all this shit for?
Yeah, I was.
So I stumbled around. I looked good. In the '90s, I think I did make an attempt at the steps, and my sponsor, who I ended up eventually doing the steps with in 2011, I did a half-hearted attempt at steps back, and then moved to Florida, and then on a double-mast sailboat, bourbon and Coke, or when Myers rum and Coke came my way. Instead of throwing it over my shoulder, I drank it, and then I battled back. But to do the 12 steps to find God or to find something, I believe I think that's what our bottom is. That's what's.
Isn't it amazing how strong that ego is? And that ego is going to tell me, you're not going to tell me about God. I was raised Catholic, and for me, I was raised Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
I know more about God than all you guys put together. Like, I was a know-it-all about everything, And when I came in, and I mean, I remember my first few meetings. I had like Tom L. and Howard P. and like the average sobriety was like 20 years, 20 some years at this time, and I was telling them what alcoholism is and what it meant and what chemical reaction is produced in the brain. And I'm sitting and they're letting me just hang myself, and they're just letting me talk and talk and talk. And that's the beauty about 12-step programs is like, we're not telling you what to do. We're just sharing our experience, strength, and hope and showing you how we found a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's the restitution, it's finding God and helping others, right? So talk about how you stay plugged in today and how you stay close to God and how you don't take that Myers and Coke today,
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of opportunity for me to drink. I mean, not in the sense that I'm standing in a bar and there's a drink in front of me, but there's all that shit that happens. And today I just never even think about it at all. But fortunately, because I am dialed in, and I've just kind of revamped my whole program as far as that's concerned recently, because I closed an office I had down at Mesa Gateway. I'm centralizing my work and all that, getting back to my morning meetings, my regular. You got me started on a gratitude list. Probably when did we start that stuff? 14?
A long time ago.
You got me started on doing that. I'm doing that regularly and I was always doing that regularly, probably not as regularly as I'm back daily doing. But I've got 4 morning meetings a week, sometimes 5 if I go to a Saturday morning meeting. I'm speaking to our group of buddies 3 or 4
every day,
3 or 4 of them in the morning. Whether it be on my way to work, whether it be on my way to something else, or if I got some downtime sitting in the office.
So feeling connected, feeling loved, feeling good about yourself.
Yeah. Dialed in.
And what happens if you go weeks without going to a meeting, talking to anybody, without praying? I mean, does that feeling of low self-worth, low self-esteem, self-pity start to come back?
Well, fortunately, in 13 and a half years, I haven't gotten to that place yet. So I don't think I've ever not done at least 2 or 3 meetings in a week. So I think this last year I had periods of time when I was probably the less connected to the program, and that was due to the fact that I was trying to establish myself in this office down at Mesa Gateway. Thought that was going to be potentially a good future move, future for me, business-wise down there, and it really didn't. It just separated my time. It gave me all this time, driving my car. And for a guy like me with sometimes out of control ADD that just spins me.
Do you take medication for your
No,
ADD now?
Not doing
Nothing.
anything for
Yeah.
it right now. Don't know if it's something that I it's funny because I've thought recently that I should potentially maybe address it, but I'm careful with those. I mean, I've done periods of lithium for quite often in my adulthood. Periods of when I was attempting sobriety, doctors always put me on. This time around, I said, let's not. I don't want to. Let's try with nothing. Let's see what happens. Debbie would kind of gauge if I was a little off the.
Yeah.
But she never blew the horn to get on anything.
Yeah. I know people have been telling me forever that I'm ADHD and ADD and I should be on medication. I'm like, well, I missed the boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, maybe when I was young, but I'm not starting something in my 50s and.
Correct. I mean, I don't see the point of it. I mean, it's sometimes it gets pointed out. Newcomer pointed it out to me last night. But or you seem distracted.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah.
Maybe I'm just not interested in what you're saying.
Yeah, that's just part
I look at it as like a benefit because I know for me, my career and my being an entrepreneur, I think has benefited for me being sort of creative and instant instead of slow, methodical, being able to process things maybe like a normal brain would. I actually look at like the ADD as a benefit in my career and what's been my path.
Correct.
You know? So, but prayer, meditation, meetings, I mean, sitting in a meeting for an hour and not talking and listening, that's for me, huge progress,
Oh yeah. It is for me too. And I'm enjoying that morning meeting. I told you this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Talking about it. And tomorrow we have our backyard holidays. Anyways. And I do. I am enjoying those guys.
Yeah.
The conversations do get longer than normal.
Right. Yeah. There's no timer,
but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem like there's ever a chance. I think maybe once in the past 2.5 weeks that I've been going to that meeting now regularly that I felt like, oh yeah, we could.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. I always feel better. I've gone through periods of my sobriety, my 25 years, where I've stopped going to meetings for a period of time and stopped calling the guys. And sure enough, again, life presents circumstances and situations to me to show me where I'm not free. And one of my first things I do is like, I need to start going back to meetings. I need to start calling guys again. I need to start praying and meditating again. It's the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And it always gets me back on track, because I could start feeling sorry for myself and start isolating and start like in my mind, why is this happening to me? Poor me. And before you know it, I'm not enjoying life anymore. And I know where that leads. It leads to a drink or drug eventually, I mean, I can white knuckle it for a while. I'm pretty good at white knuckling it, but I don't want to live like that, So I always feel good when I leave a meeting, and I always feel better when I hang up the phone with another alcoholic. And today somebody texted me and says, hey, will you meet me at a meeting tomorrow morning? He's trying to get back in. I'm like, absolutely. It just feels good to lend a hand to help, because if I didn't have men there to help me when I came in, there's no way I would have got sober. There's no way I tried by myself for a couple of years. I couldn't do it. So I needed all the help and all the men that were there for me. Mm-hmm. So like the book says, I am so grateful to be able to lend a hand to other people when they ask for help, And a lot of times it's our friends that are been sober a while and they're just like, I'm leaking oil.
Oh yeah. No.
Hey, let's meet for lunch. Let's go to the backyard group.
I'm not really when I make this statement. I feel closer to a drink today than I ever have, and I'm not feeling close to a drink. I'm feeling close to the thinking of mindsets of all that craziness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. At 13 and a half years, there's these periods where I feel like, well, maybe I should be doing something more. You know what I mean? I got sponsees. I have I have 4 or 5 sponsees, and they've all got long-term sobriety. I don't have anybody that I'm going through these steps with. Right. I don't know.
Maybe we'll find somebody at the backyard tomorrow.
I don't know if that's good or bad. It's my sponsor right now doesn't really think it's a bad thing that I'm not doing that. I think some of our best 12-step work is not necessarily sponsorship. It's the sponsorship that we do in our meetings that we don't necessarily think we're actually doing sponsorship.
We don't know who we're helping.
We don't know who we're helping, but I do know this. You and I are very friendly and affectionate. All of our group, we see each other, we're laughing, we're hugging, we're planning, we're going to this, we're doing that, we're having coffee.
Bantering, we're teasing.
We're going to go see a movie. To me, a new guy coming in the door
and sees that.
Sees these guys are having fun. I mean, we're laughing and having a good time. There's no doubt that sobriety is working for us.
I don't remember who told it to me. Somebody, Tom Lux or one of these guys that I always looked up to said it. He's like, if you're not having fun in sobriety, you're not going to stay. Period. Eventually,
absolutely.
you're going to leave. You got to have fun, and I think we have shown that we have a lot of fun. I mean, we're still getting kicked out of restaurants, and we're sober.
And we're sober,
laughing our ass off, and just being obnoxious, and that's great. That's great. So, any final words before we wrap up of what you would tell the folks out there that are maybe either trying to get sober, trying to quit drinking, trying to get out of a codependent relationship? Any words of advice on just how to take the first step to have a better life?
I think just get into a meeting and find somebody and get attached to somebody else who's in the same position as you and who really wants to be sober. Something I didn't touch on, but I have a very good friend, Tony. You know Tony. And he and I were litter mates. We came in he was 4 weeks behind me. I think that was probably the most vital relationship in my sobriety today is him. I saw him today. We don't see each other or speak to each other at the intensity or the frequency that we did early on our first 3 or 4 years. We were inseparable. Because I can say shit, talk to shit to Tony that I would be humiliated, embarrassed to tell anybody.
But you feel
else.
Safe talking to him and loved and not judged.
Right. And he back to me. I mean, he and I've had this conversation a number of times that it was invaluable to have that. Because, as men, we don't want to feel like we don't know. Or boy, that was stupid.
Yeah.
But, he and I could banter that shit all day long and then try to figure it out on the internet or listen to a speaker or hear this from this speaker or whatever. But,
such a benefit.
Get a litter mate, somebody who, a wingman.
Talk about what's bothering you. What are the fears?
Right.
As my friend Ron Ham would say, share your plan, get it out and realize you're not alone, right? Realize you're not alone. And there's other people dealing with the same shit. And that you are amazing. You're a miracle. You are a beautiful human being.
Don't be afraid to share your brokenness with your family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for us, specifically our sons.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Because we don't know when they're going to need it. Yeah. I think the most important thing is when my 2 sons picked me up from the police station, my last DUI. And I had no idea they were coming. I get out of the holding cell in Mesa, and it's down. They have a basement. I looked out, and there's DJ and Chris. And I feel like the gig's up.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though they saw, I mean, from that moment on, still, I didn't embark on my sobriety that moment at all. I didn't wake up. I didn't go, that's it. My son's never going to see me. They saw me burn it all the way down over the next 6-7 weeks. But post that, I was open and honest. I'd said, this is what's happening. What's going on? This drug addict, this is what I'm doing. Dope-wise, this is what I've been, blah, blah, blah. I want it all out on the table. This is what Dad's going to do now.
Yeah. It's like we talk about. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. My boys have never seen me take a drink. I got sober before they were born. And I can't imagine what kind of dad and friend and father and husband I would have been if I was still drinking. I was the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde character in the Big Book.
But Bond has seen you broken.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. He's seen me cry more than I'm sure most kids have seen their father cry, and I love it.
Yeah.
He listens to this podcast. He's listened to every episode, and he loves it. And it brings us closer.
Right.
And we talk about these things, and I share my gratitude list with them. And, you know, it's
our brokenness is our greatest strength.
no question. But we
And
think,
the further we
we think
fall-
we can't tell anyone because we're going to be judged. We're going
Right.
to be, you know, people are going to mark us. People are going to think we're weak. And all it does is it brings people closer, and the vulnerability brings you closer and makes you more in love with each other.
Yeah. Our biggest fall is our greatest resurrection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot to be learned with the stories.
You know, my good friend Father Ken, he says, "Boy, we have a great time. We're real good at hanging on that cross.
Yeah,
Just find the wood. I'm throwing myself on it, but living the resurrection, living our new life, living this. You know,
Yeah.
our sobriety has given us new life. It didn't give me. Yeah, I've now learned that I'm not Bob 2.0.
Yeah,
I'm new Bob.
yeah.
And our ADD. So okay. That's
Did you? Speaking of Bob, one of my favorite comedies of all time is What About Bob?
Yeah.
I watch it all the time. Ask my wife. I probably watch it 20, 30 times a year.
Greatest actor.
You know, Bill Murray.
Bill
You know,
Murray.
What About Bob? And I can so identify with what he goes through in that movie and how he just wants to have a family and be loved and laugh and just be a part of something instead of being by himself and lonely and sad and, you know,
Right.
and I so identify with that. And maybe that's why I love that movie so much.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I live a life I could have never dreamt of.
Yeah.
Just about in every aspect.
Yeah.
And I have these incredible sons.
And grandkids. 3, right? 4?
Well, Ethan
Yeah.
started it all.
Yeah.
But that's for another day.
Yeah. Well, Bob, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for asking
You're
me.
one of my closest friends, and I do love sharing life with you. And you're one of the guys that makes me feel safe and loved. So thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week on the laundry list. Please, please be nice to my friend this week and enjoy your holiday season. We'll see you next week.